Welcome to our YouTube channel where we dive deep into the world of knowledge and self-improvement. In today's video, we'll be exploring the summary of the thought-provoking book, The Great Mental Models by Parrish and Rhiannon Beaubien. So, grab a cup of your favorite beverage, sit back, relax, and let's jump into this enlightening journey of mental models. But before we dive into the content, I kindly request a moment of your time to appreciate this video by liking it, subscribing to the channel, and ringing that notification bell. Your support means a lot to me. Thank you so much. In The Great Mental Models, authors Parrish and Rhiannon Beaubien delve into the fascinating world of mental models, offering a comprehensive guide to understanding and applying these powerful tools for better decision-making. Mental models are deeply ingrained ways of thinking that guide how we perceive the world, make decisions, and solve problems. They are cognitive shortcuts that help us process information more efficiently and effectively. Parrish said, "Mental models are like a toolkit for the mind. By mastering a diverse set of mental models, we can gain better insights, make more informed decisions, and navigate the complexities of life with greater ease." Rhiannon Beaubien. In The Great Mental Models, we introduce readers to a curated selection of the most powerful and essential mental models that can transform the way you think and approach challenges in your personal and professional life. The book is structured around key mental models that cover a range of disciplines including psychology, physics, economics, and more. Each chapter explores a different mental model, providing examples, case studies, and practical applications to help readers fully grasp its significance. From Occam's razor to inversion, from second-order thinking to the map is not the territory. The Great Mental Models offers a wealth of valuable insights that can enhance your critical thinking skills and decision-making prowess. Readers of The Great Mental Models have praised its clarity, depth, and practical utility in transforming their thinking patterns and improving their problem-solving abilities. Whether you're a student, entrepreneur, or just someone looking to expand your intellectual horizons, this book has something valuable to offer. The Great Mental Models by Parrish and Rhiannon Beaubien is a thoughtful guide to learning how to think better and make smarter decisions through the lens of mental models. It equips readers with a toolbox of knowledge frameworks that allow for more strategic thinking and better problem solving. The Great Mental Models provides a crash course on how to upgrade your thinking and decision making. Drawing from a wide variety of disciplines, it will equip you with 9 of the most essential tools for understanding and navigating the complicated world around you. The Great Mental Models is an insightful exploration of the models and principles that shape our understanding of the world. Here's why this book is worth reading. Featuring a collection of powerful mental models, the book equips readers with the tools to think more effectively, solve problems, and make better decisions. Backed by extensive research and real-world examples, it offers practical applications for these models, helping readers to apply them in their everyday lives. With its engaging and thought-provoking content, the book captures your attention and sparks curiosity, ensuring that the topic of mental models is anything but boring. Those are the individuals who truly deserve to immerse themselves in this remarkable book. Decision makers, analysts, anyone who wants to give their thinking an edge. The Great Mental Models will improve your decision-making process by sharing some unique but well-documented thinking models you can use to interact more efficiently with the world and other people. Your mental models are your best or worst toolkit you have on your hand when making decisions. These are the multitude of your thinking traits, the recollection of your past decisions and their outcomes, life lessons, and all the other circumstances that shape the way you think today. Therefore, it's particularly important to shape them right and give your mind the right thinking devices, so that whenever you're faced with making a decision, you have mental options to choose from and create the best possible outcome. The Great Mental Models by Parrish teaches you how to build up a series of thinking models that are great for helping you make the best decisions. Here are my 3 favorite lessons from the book. Know what you're good at and seek help when you encounter an area of weakness for you. Look at the first principles of a problem and practice inversion to solve it. Play scenarios in your head before you try them in the real world and assess the long-term effects of your decisions. Now, let's take some time to explore each lesson in detail. Lesson 1. Knowing well your competences and your vulnerabilities is the key to success. In life, there are certain things we excel at and certain things that feel strange to us. It's important to have a good grasp on both, Parrish suggests. Our areas of competence feel natural and easy to explore. This is because, as we repeat a task, we become accustomed to it and our mind doesn't need to actively engage in the process of doing it. Therefore, being aware of your circle of competence is essential for success. If you think about it, it's simple. Playing on your strong points will assure that you complete all tasks successfully, thus minimizing the chances of failure. Moreover, being aware of your strengths and weaknesses will help you save time and be more productive. Let's say you're good with numbers and finance, so you're able to file your taxes properly by the end of the year. However, you lack cooking skills, so it might be a good idea to shop for already cooked meals for the holidays. This way, you'll save time and make sure that everything is completed successfully. Although it may sound simple, you'd be surprised to find out how many of us let our egos get in the way of our decisions. Sometimes it's hard to admit that we may not be good at something, especially if it's a common skill between those around us. However, not knowing when to seek help is detrimental to our efficiency and can delay our success. Lesson 2. Solve a problem by looking at its underlying cause and by practicing inversion. Most people approach their problems wrong. Instead of curing the cause, they try to alleviate its symptoms. On top of that, you should be looking to prevent it from ever occurring again. So where to start? Essentially, you'll want to look at the first principles of a problem, the ones that caused it in the first place. Think outside the box and find the root cause of the matter. When you find it, ask yourself if fixing it will prevent it from occurring again. That way, you'll know if you truly fixed it or it's just a temporary fix. The second way to address a problem is through inversion, which implies turning the problem-solving process upside down. You can do that in 2 ways. The first way would be to assume that something is true and then go backwards to look for what else needs to be true as well to fulfill your scenario. For example, let's say you're extremely wealthy. What else would need to be true for it to be the case? Things like not taking out expensive loans, spending less, saving more, are all good examples to be added on the list. Here is your solution. Then, you can try to reverse this scenario a little to figure out your solutions. Assume you're very poor. What else needs to fit in this scenario for it to be true? If you find that it takes spending too much, inflating your lifestyle whenever you have money, or not sticking to a budget, then these are the things you should avoid at all costs, and they're the fix for your problem. Lesson 3. Always think long-term before you take a decision and double-check it in your mind. You might have heard people say, think before you speak. And for a reason. Thinking about what we are about to do instead of letting our impulses take over is a sign of maturity and good rationale. Thought experiments are key to successful endeavors because you get to train yourself for your real-life encounters beforehand. Moreover, if something goes wrong, you can replay that in your head and figure out alternatives for every potential thing that could go wrong. This low-risk, high-reward mental model works best in life scenarios where you have to get it right the first time, like making a good impression, performing an extreme sport, presenting a speech in front of a large audience, or other similar situations. Moreover, it's important to assess the long-term consequences of your actions and balance them out with the short-term benefits. Sometimes it may be difficult to look at the bigger picture and acknowledge that in the long run, your actions can be more harmful than constructive, as the short-term benefits look tempting. This second-order thinking is helpful in situations that have a lasting impact on us. For example, if you indulge yourself to splurge and spend large amounts of cash on a regular basis, you may find yourself being broke, while all of your friends have already bought their first home. Think about the bigger picture and your future self whenever you make a decision. It's helpful if you ask yourself, is this helping me achieve my future goals? Or, how will this affect me in time? The Great Mental Models makes it easier for its readers to construct the right mental models which can help them navigate the world more easily. The book offers 9 ways to use mental models as a way to fix various problems in your life. Its readers will learn a series of valuable lessons and psychological tips and tricks that will help them address issues from various perspectives. We strive to interpret and navigate the world around us, yet our perspectives are inevitably shaped by mental constructs that simplify reality. In The Great Mental Models Volume 1, authors Parrish and Rhiannon Beaubien unpack the limitations of these conceptual frameworks and offer strategies to recognize faulty reasoning and overcome cognitive biases. guiding readers through a spectrum of rational approaches, from breaking complex issues into foundational elements to assessing probabilities. This book equips us with tools to think more critically. By examining thought experiments, inverting traditional perspectives, and embracing simplicity, we learn to scrutinize our assumptions and forge clearer paths to informed decision-making. The Socratic method of inquiry utilizes a progressive sequence of 5 questions to delve into the fundamental causal connections within a specific issue. Methods for uncovering fundamental truths. Parrish and Beaubien recommend a disciplined approach of skepticism and inquiry, coupled with a strategy that entails a quintuple inquiry into the reasons behind a principle to reveal its foundational aspects. The Socratic technique, influenced by the classical Greek thinker, entails an intensive questioning approach that probes with why inquiries to uncover foundational beliefs, highlight inconsistencies, and discern the fundamental tenets inherent in any discussion. This approach encourages us to examine our beliefs closely, identify where our knowledge falls short, and actively seek evidence that supports our claims. Employing a simple method called the 5 whys involves a series of inquiries, each asking why, to penetrate to the heart of a problem or event by examining the cause at each level 5 times. Continual inquiry enables us to delve through multiple layers of presuppositions. Assessing the probability of different results is crucial. Parrish and Beaubien argue that this method significantly improves the way we make decisions, especially when we are overwhelmed with information and faced with many unknowns. Employing mathematical tools to evaluate the likelihood of different potential results. Parrish and Beaubien present a strategy for evaluating scenarios with unpredictable results by assessing the likelihood of different outcomes. Rather than seeing the future as a binary something will or won't happen, we should instead consider a range of possibilities and their relative probabilities. Embracing the complexities that come with nuanced perspectives is essential for moving beyond the simplicity of binary thinking. We progress from decisions driven by emotions to ones grounded in reason by embracing probabilistic thinking, a principle that saves both time and energy. Integrating relevant existing information to refine the accuracy of likelihood estimations in Bayesian evaluation. The authors stress that while there are limitations in our understanding of the world, the information available to us is still a potent instrument for directing our decisions. Bayesian thinking, which underscores probabilistic reasoning, emphasizes the significance of adjusting our convictions in light of new evidence. Parrish and Beaubien illustrate their point with a discussion on how news headlines often highlight an increase in aggressive criminal acts. While it may initially cause concern, this new information should be assimilated into our existing comprehension, which encompasses the continuous decline in crime rates over time. Incorporating fresh insights with what we already know, we can improve our assessment of various scenarios and avoid hasty or emotionally driven responses. Recognizing the importance of differences and acknowledging the presence of notable exceptions in probability distributions. Parrish and Beaubien elucidate this idea by likening it to the contours of a bell curve, emphasizing the enhancement of our understanding of probabilities through statistical distributions. The authors observe that while the familiar bell curve is a precise depiction of certain distributions such as stature and body mass, many aspects of our lives are influenced by distributions with heavy tails, which suggests that extreme events occur with greater frequency than what is expected in normal distributions. These could include, for example, stock market fluctuations or terrorist attacks. The authors stress the significance of understanding distributions, particularly focusing on the extreme values, to make informed decisions when dealing with uncertainty. For instance, while historical data might suggest that a major decline in the financial markets is improbable, the presence of statistical anomalies demonstrates that these rare events can have a substantial impact on our financial holdings. Logical thinking approaches. Parrish and Beaubien illustrate how, by deliberately employing rational methods, we can surmount our inclination to make decisions driven by instinct or emotions. Consider hypothetical scenarios. Parrish and Beaubien characterize thought experiments as cognitive activities that allow us to examine and reflect on ideas that are not readily subject to empirical testing or observation. They provide a robust instrument for examining presuppositions, questioning accepted beliefs, and considering various alternatives. Investigating the core aspects of various subjects by examining theoretical scenarios. The authors emphasize the importance of conducting mental simulations with the same level of detail and thoroughness as those used in scientific studies. These go beyond simple daydreams, representing a methodical and structured approach to investigation. This approach entails identifying a question, collecting pertinent data, developing a hypothesis, performing a cognitive simulation, and then analyzing the results to infer the implications. Exploring the realm of the physically impossible in the universe and considering various historical alternatives. The authors discuss how thought experiments serve as a tool to examine scenarios beyond the realm of reality or to reassess historical occurrences by posing hypothetical questions about alternative outcomes. Einstein's famous mental exercise, where he envisioned himself moving alongside a beam of light, led him to challenge the conventional understanding of time and space, and this line of questioning culminated in his development of the theory of relativity. Considering different possible past events, such as what might have happened if the assassination of the Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand had been avoided, deepens our understanding of the complex interplay between historical events and the consequences of different actions. Comprehending ideas that are not immediately apparent through mental visualization. The authors stress the importance of using mental simulations to understand concepts that might seem contradictory at first. For instance, the famous Monty Hall dilemma, which is centered on probabilistic deduction, frequently leads to incorrect decisions, even among those proficient with probabilistic concepts, underscoring the importance of cognitive drills in understanding the logic behind solutions that defy initial intuition. The authors advocate for engaging in mental simulations to challenge our instincts. We can employ mental simulations to evaluate the likely results of our choices and identify potential flaws in our reasoning. This reflective method allows us to scrutinize our underlying assumptions, embrace new viewpoints, and develop more robust strategies for decision-making. Inversion. The authors explain that inversion essentially involves approaching an issue from a distinct perspective. Inversion serves a twofold purpose. It aids in identifying and eliminating strategies that might worsen a situation, while simultaneously revealing better options than those initially contemplated. Begin by picturing the goals you aim to achieve and then proceed by retracing the steps from the end goal to the present. The authors describe inversion as a method for resolving issues by first determining the desired result and subsequently tracing the necessary steps to reach that goal. We start by forming a clear image of the goal we wish to reach and then trace our steps in reverse to determine the essential actions and prerequisites, instead of tackling the issue right away. This approach is particularly beneficial for addressing complex problems because it allows for breaking down these problems into more manageable pieces and helps determine if the anticipated outcome is achievable. Considering the objective from a reverse angle aids in examining various perspectives. Parrish and Beaubien demonstrate that by approaching the problem from a unique angle, we are able to examine our assumptions and explore different possibilities. What steps might I deliberately choose that would guarantee failure? In what ways might this scenario worsen? By systematically tackling these inquiries, we can identify and eliminate potential barriers, thus revealing innovative solutions and shedding light on new paths to achievement. Approaching problems from an inverted perspective can illuminate aspects that may have otherwise remained obscured, thereby broadening our understanding. By using reverse logic to pinpoint and eliminate barriers that hinder success. Parrish and Beaubien illustrate that by concentrating on the hurdles we aim to surmount, we can enhance our ability to pinpoint and eliminate the barriers that hinder our progress. Instead of confronting an issue head-on, we initially conceive of a negative result and subsequently devise plans to avert it. Employing such strategies is especially beneficial in the field of risk management, where it is essential to identify and reduce possible risks to ensure success. By carefully contemplating potential pitfalls, we can devise backup strategies and establish protective measures to avert such occurrences. By deliberately avoiding behaviors that could hinder our progress, we improve the likelihood of achieving our objectives as we establish them. A concept often known as Occam's razor. When confronted with complex situations, the recommended mental model encourages the use of a simpler approach. When considering various possible explanations, preference should be given to the one that is more straightforward. Choose the simplest explanation instead of exploring more complex alternatives. Parrish and Beaubien characterize Occam's razor as a useful cognitive heuristic to apply in situations where certainty is lacking. The fundamental concept implies that when faced with multiple explanations that are equally plausible, the one that is less complex is usually the right one. Explanations that are simpler usually require a smaller number of assumptions, which in turn decreases the chances of them being incorrect. We ought to adopt the most straightforward rationale, yet we should not presume that every intricate scenario can be reduced to one fundamental reason. Concentrating on the fundamental aspects while steering clear of superfluous intricacies. Elaborate justifications frequently obscure the fundamental cause of a problem, diverting our attention from the essential elements and leading us astray. The authors argue that by pursuing simplicity, we can uncover the core principles governing situations, thereby allowing us to make choices that are more effective and wise. Parrish and Beaubien examine the methods employed by the Urban Water Management Authority to protect the city's water sources from contaminants that could potentially cause cancer. The team adopted an economical approach that involved using floating spheres to prevent birds from resting atop the water reservoir, thereby protecting the water from the harmful effects of sunlight, employing Occam's razor to streamline and improve decision-making processes. The authors advocate for applying Occam's razor as a general mindset, a way of approaching problem-solving and decision-making. By prioritizing simplicity, we save energy and resources while focusing on identifying the most straightforward solution. Occam's razor serves as a protective measure against the overwhelming influx of information, which can help avert the exhaustion associated with making numerous decisions. In an era saturated with information, simplifying our explanations assists in comprehending intricate scenarios, focusing our endeavors, and distributing resources effectively. The concept in question is known as Hanlon's razor. This mental model serves as a reminder that we tend to overestimate the intent behind other people's actions, attributing problems to a lack of knowledge or mistakes rather than deliberate harm. Parrish and Beaubien explain Hanlon's razor as a principle that recommends attributing most problems and errors to an absence of awareness, knowledge, or focus, rather than to deliberate malice. In most situations, negative outcomes are more frequently a consequence of a lack of comprehension than of intentional malice. We should evaluate alternative explanations before attributing actions to malicious intent, especially in the context of intricate systems or unclear circumstances, though this does not suggest that such motives are entirely absent. Acknowledging our inclination to draw overly broad conclusions from insufficient data. Parrish and Beaubien delve into a renowned psychological study highlighting our tendency to draw sweeping conclusions from limited data, scrutinizing cognitive biases through a scenario commonly referred to as the Linda problem. Participants wrongly concluded that the probability of Linda being both a feminist and a bank teller was higher, even though statistical likelihood favored her simply being a bank teller, after receiving information suggesting her feminist leanings. The writers connect this false belief to the principle commonly known as Hanlon's razor, which suggests that our flawed judgments of others' actions often stem from it. When we encounter perplexing behaviors or results, we frequently assume they stem from an intentional effort to inflict harm or distress upon us. The authors stress that the majority of individuals do not harbor ill will. Maintain an open and impartial mindset to prevent succumbing to baseless doubts and inflexible ideologies. By adopting the viewpoint that actions are frequently driven by a deficit in knowledge instead of malice, we foster an outlook that is more empathetic and perceptive. It enables us to steer clear of undue suspicion, acknowledge our own capacity for error, remain receptive to diverse viewpoints, and steer clear of becoming dogmatically inflexible. It further assists in preventing hasty conclusions, paving the way for discussions that yield better results. This open-minded approach, as the authors explain, helps us remain focused on finding solutions rather than getting stuck on assigning blame. This approach enables a more objective perspective on challenges, reduces the tendency to take every setback personally, and promotes a cooperative atmosphere for tackling problems. Mental models are cognitive frameworks that help individuals understand the world by simplifying complex information. These models shape how we perceive, interpret, and make decisions based on our experiences and beliefs. They act as internal representations of reality, influencing our thoughts and guiding our actions. By recognizing and evaluating our mental models, we can improve our decision-making by understanding how these frameworks impact our perceptions and choices. The comparison between mental models and cartographic representations highlights how both simplify complex information to aid understanding. Mental models, like maps, selectively represent reality by omitting certain details for clarity. Just as a map cannot capture every aspect of a landscape, mental models streamline reality to make it more manageable. Both tools serve specific purposes and may not be universally applicable across all scenarios. Maps are not neutral representations of reality but are influenced by the perspectives and biases of their creators. The choices made in what to include or exclude on a counterarguments. Mental models, while useful, can also entrench existing biases and limit the ability to see alternative perspectives or solutions. Maps, even as simplified representations, can sometimes obscure important details that are crucial for certain users, leading to misinterpretation or misuse. The design of maps for specific purposes can also inadvertently exclude or marginalize certain groups or interests, reflecting power imbalances in map-making processes. The process of omitting details to make understanding more manageable can sometimes oversimplify complex issues, leading to misunderstandings or a lack of appreciation for the complexity of real-world situations. Adjusting mental models based on context is important, but it can also lead to inconsistency and confusion if not done with careful consideration of the underlying principles. The subjective viewpoints and beliefs of map creators can introduce bias, but this criticism can overlook the potential for maps to also reflect collective, negotiated understandings of space. Over-reliance on representations is a valid concern, but in some cases, representations such as models and simulations are the best tools we have for understanding and predicting complex systems. Recognizing the limits of expertise is crucial, but this can also lead to excessive self-doubt and hinder decision-making in situations where action is required despite uncertainty. In most areas of life, you need the right tools to get the job done. Want to fix a clogged toilet? Get a plunger. Want to write a novel? Grab a pen. The more complicated the job, the more tools you'll tend to need. Just look at all the gear inside the workshop of a car mechanic. The same is true of decision-making. Only here, the tools you need are mental devices. To make good decisions in life, you need to think through your options carefully. Certain ideas, techniques, and knowledge can help you out with this. How? By enabling you to create a better working model of reality in your mind. We can therefore call them mental models. The better your models, the better your chances of success. And the more varied your models, the more prepared you'll be to handle the many challenges life throws your way. Ideally, you'd have a whole toolbox full of mental models, and that's exactly what you're about to receive. Not just one, not just two, but 9 of the most useful mental models for making better decisions. In these insights, you'll learn about a zany thought experiment that helped Einstein understand gravity, the dark secrets of a 1920s propaganda pioneer, and the difference between Occam's razor and Hanlon's razor. 1. A map is a simplified representation of a complicated reality. Mental models are tools that help us navigate reality. The most obvious example is a map. As familiar as it might seem, this classic navigational aid illustrates some of the basic features, benefits, and limits of mental models in general. So it's a good place to start. The purpose of a map is to represent the world in a way that's useful to us. To accomplish this purpose, a map needs to focus on certain aspects of reality while ignoring everything else. For instance, if you're trying to navigate the London Underground, all you need is a map that shows the overall layout of the subway's rails and stations, the information that will help you get to your destination. A simple array of lines and circles will do the trick. The key message here is, a map is a simplified representation of a complicated reality. Of course, the resulting map, that network of lines and circles, leaves out a lot of details. But that's unavoidable. To see why, imagine trying to create a map that shows every little detail of the London Underground, right down to the nuts and bolts of the railroad tracks. Such a map would be completely impractical, way too big to fit inside your pocket, and way too complicated to help you get from point A to point B. So we don't want a map to include every aspect of the reality it represents. But we also don't want to forget that it leaves out a lot of details. Sure, many of them are irrelevant to us, like the nuts and bolts of the railroad tracks. But some of them are important to keep in mind. If you've ever been so busy looking down at your smartphone map that you walk straight into a lamppost, then you know this firsthand. Or if your GPS device has ever led you to a road that's closed, then you know the importance of having a map that's fully up to date. These lessons apply not just to literal maps, but to more metaphorical maps as well. Financial statements, policy papers, parenting manuals, even news articles, they all offer map-like simplifications of reality. A company's financial statement, for instance, condenses thousands of transactions into a single, easily digestible document. These simplifications are meant to guide us through the complicated world around us. But if we forget about what they're leaving out of the picture, and if we fail to update them as the world changes, they can also lead us astray and get us into trouble. 2. Recognize the limits of your circle of competence. Imagine all of our practical human knowledge as forming a vast and varied landscape, encompassing everything from knowing how to cook to knowing how to invest in the stock market to knowing how to climb Mount Everest. To navigate most of this terrain, you'll need a map, whether it takes the form of a cookbook, an investment manual, or a mountaineering guide. Other places, though, will be so familiar to you that a map becomes unnecessary. These places are the skills you've mastered through years of study, practice, and hard work, and they all fall within your circle of competence. 3. Solve problems creatively by reasoning from first principles. When you focus on your circle of competence, you're playing to your strengths. But there's more to success than mere competency. You also need creativity. It might sound like a cliché, but it's true. You have to think outside the box. Otherwise, you'll end up doing the same old thing that everyone else is doing. But how do you break away from the pack? The trick lies in digging deep. For any subject or body of knowledge, if you drill down deep enough, you'll eventually find what you're looking for. 4. Develop your creative problem-solving skills even further by practicing inversion. Imagine you're an advertising executive working for the American Tobacco Company in the 1920s. The company has noticed that most smokers are men, and you've been tasked with the following objective: sell more Lucky Strike cigarettes to women. Putting aside any moral scruples, how would you achieve this goal? That was the question once faced by Edward Bernays, the Austrian-American pioneer of the fields of public relations and propaganda. He answered it by implementing the next mental model we're going to look at. It's a nifty little trick called inversion, which involves taking the normal approach to problem solving and turning it upside down. 5. Use thought experiments to test out your ideas and clarify your thinking. Now that you've learned first principle reasoning and the technique of inversion, there's no limit to how many creative ideas you can come up with. Hopefully they'll be more like growing artificial meat than getting people to smoke. But before you try them out in the real world, you'll probably want to simulate them in your imagination first. The key message here is, use thought experiments to test out your ideas and clarify your thinking. 6. Engage in second-order thinking to scrutinize your decisions and bolster your arguments. Imagine you've just won the lottery. What's the first thing you'd do? Let's say you buy a bigger house. Great. But now you have to consider how this decision will change your life. For example, you might have to spend more time cleaning. Either that or have to hire a cleaner. Either way, you've now gone from thinking about the consequences of something, as you do when conducting a thought experiment, to thinking about the consequences of the consequences. This is called second-order thinking. 7. Use probabilistic thinking to weigh your decisions more precisely. Second-order consequences can often come as an unpleasant surprise. But that doesn't mean you should get too carried away guarding against them. With any given action, you can imagine all sorts of horrible things happening. If you fixate on them, though, you may become paralyzed with indecision, or overreact by drawing extreme conclusions. Call it the slippery slope effect. One moment, you're thinking about all the potential negative consequences of drinking alcohol, such as alcoholism. Next thing you know, you're advocating for prohibition. That would be an overreaction. Sure, drinking alcohol can lead to alcoholism, but it doesn't always. To temper our fears and assess the potential consequences of an action rationally, we need to think about their probabilities. According to Occam's razor, the simplest of two or more equally compelling explanations is the most likely to be true. Imagine you wake up one morning feeling sick. Naturally, you go online and look up your symptoms, which you discover could either be caused by the flu or by Ebola. Which explanation should you believe? The answer is important. It's the difference between going back to bed or going into quarantine. In a situation like this, you're no longer just weighing an individual piece of evidence, as you do with probabilistic thinking. Now you need to decide between two overall explanations for the evidence you have at hand. 9. According to Hanlon's razor, the simplest and most likely explanation for misbehavior is stupidity, rather than malice. From deadly illnesses to mere tardiness, Occam's razor provides a great way to decide between competing explanations of things. But the vagaries of human behavior are varied, and sometimes we'll need another type of blade. This brings us to our final mental model, Hanlon's razor. You can think of Hanlon's razor as a close cousin to Occam's razor. Like its more famous relative, Hanlon's razor starts by reminding us that the simpler explanation, all other things being equal, tends to be the safest bet. But then it adds a special twist. And that's a wrap on our summary of The Great Mental Models by Parrish and Rhiannon Beaubien. If you're eager to elevate your mental game and embrace a more strategic approach to decision-making, be sure to grab a copy of this insightful book. You can easily discover the link provided in the description section below, through which you can acquire a copy of this truly remarkable book that is sure to captivate and inspire you with its profound insights and engaging narrative. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you found this book summary helpful, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more book summaries and self-improvement tips to help you achieve your goals and lead a more fulfilling life. And share this uplifting summary with someone who may benefit from hearing them. Leave a comment down below if you've read this book or have any other recommendations for us. And also don't forget to explore our curated playlists of book summaries covering various topics. Stay tuned for our next video where we will be discussing another impactful book. Until next time, keep expanding your mind and exploring new ways to enhance your cognitive toolkit. Take care and stay curious. Goodbye.